All right, hi 620 students. This is Dr. Smith again, and we're going to talk about Gagne's learning outcomes today. So in the last module, I talked to you about the hidden curriculum, and I'm going to show you some pictures of some cats hiding. And that was what students learn in your class that you may not have explicitly taught them, which is why it's called the hidden curriculum. Well, what we're talking about today is what can students actually learn in your classroom? What outcomes can come from your classroom? The way it may be kind of hidden to you, these are actually the ideas that students can learn in your class. And hopefully they'll be uncovered and won't be, well, hiding, at least like this cat with just a leaf on his head. So this is by Gagne, and the question is, who is Robert Gagne? Well, he was an educational psychologist who pioneered the science of instruction during World War II when he worked with Army Air Corps training pilots. He went on to develop a series of studies and work that simplified and explained what he and others would believe to be what we would call good instruction. He developed a list of 5 categories of learning, and really depending on the reference you find online, I've seen these 5 things called learning outcomes, learning capabilities, categories of learning, types of learning, conditions of learning. Regardless, whatever we want to call them, there's 5 things. The first is motor skills, attitudes, verbal information, intellectual skills, and cognitive strategies. So we're going to go through each one. So motor skills. This refers to bodily movements involving muscular activity, like swinging a golf club. Motor skills are the precise, smooth, and accurately timed execution of movements involving the use of muscles. They are a distinct type of learning outcome and necessary to the understanding of the range of possible human performances. All right, so you can see learning to swing a golf club or maybe not. All right, the second learning outcome is attitude. We can have attitudes about different things. This is the internal state that influences the choices of personal actions made by an individual towards some class of things, persons, or events. These choices of actions or behaviors are made by individuals are influenced significantly by their attitude. For example, let's say that you have an attitude or an indifference attitude toward recycling. So when you have a soda can to dispose of, you're going to throw it in the closest receptacle, right? But if you are a proponent, have an attitude that encourages and enjoys recycling, then you are going to find a recycle can to put your soda can in. All right, so attitude. The third thing is verbal information, and this refers to the organized bodies of knowledge that we acquire. They may be classified as names, facts, principles, and generalizations. Verbal information is referred to as declarative knowledge, or the idea of knowing that. So knowing things, facts, information. I found this and I had no idea that Napoleon had the Mona Lisa in his room. It could also be some bigger ideas on bigger classifications of knowledge, like having information about science. All right. The fourth thing is intellectual skills, and this involves the use of symbols such as numbers and language to interact with the environment. They involve knowing how to do something rather than knowing that about something. Okay? Intellectual skills require an ability to carry out actions. Often they require the interactions with the environment through symbols such as letters, numbers, words, and diagrams. When a learner has learned an intellectual skill, he or she will be able to demonstrate its application to at least one particular instance of the subject matter learned. Okay, so there's this idea of application. And actually there's 5 different kinds of intellectual skills you can learn. So we can learn rules, like multiplication rules, and here is a little girl demonstrating the rules for multiplication by 9s, the 9 family, and she's doing it in an interesting way. So there's rules that you can carry out. There's something also called higher order rules, which require just elaboration on these. And you can see here we can start with something basic, and our students are understanding those. No problem, a little bored, and it goes to that, and well, they just give up. The third one is what we call a defined concept. Is this idea that we can define and describe an object or event or feeling. But we have this concept. Let's say it's a cat, so we can define and describe exactly what a cat is. So that's an skill, is this idea of description. A concreted concept is to give them an example. You have to provide an example of the concept that you're interested in, which is here, cats. And then there's discrimination, which means you can tell the difference between a concept and a non-concept, and be able to state why this is a concept and why this is a non-concept. So, for example, be able to discriminate between a cat and a dog. So these are the kinds of skills that can come out. And finally, the last one is called cognitive strategies, and these refer to the process that learners guide their learning, remembering, and thinking. Where intellectual skills are oriented towards aspects of the environment by dealing with numbers, words, and symbols that are external, cognitive strategies govern our process of dealing with the environment by influencing our internal processes. As learners use cognitive strategies in thinking about what was learned and in solving problems, they are the ways the learner manages the processes of learning, remembering, and thinking. So one of the things that usually is coming up with plans. The idea that cognitive strategies are how we plan, and this is the battle plan from Home Alone. It also deals with problem solving, okay? How we tackle unique problems and develop problem solving strategies. So you can see this guy is washing his hair in a sink, and he's figured out a way to do it without trying to get his head underneath that small faucet. All right. So to recap, 5 learning outcomes. There's our motor skills, it's our physical ability to do something. Our attitudes influence how we behave. We can learn verbal information, such as facts. Intellectual skills, such as rules or ways to think about objects and discriminate between them. And then our cognitive strategies versus planning. That's it. We'll see you next time.